Earth, the planet we call our home. From deserts to snowy mountains, as surely as the seasons change, through the passage of time, every inch of our world is, as it has always been, teeming with life, with creatures large and small. Join us in celebrating the mighty wilderness and wild about. Deep in the heart of the wild, in the snow, in the dark, in the ancient woods, in the cold high mountains, in the deserts and grasslands, a hunter is out there, stalking its prey. No beast so fierce, so admired, so feared. A symbol for the wilderness itself, its descendants an emblem for man's everlasting will to conquer. The word wolf itself refers to a variety of loosely related species of canines, or dog-like predatory mammals, including the Egyptian wolf, more known as the Egyptian jackal, the Ethiopian wolf, also known as the red jackal, the mountain wolf, better known as the dhole or Indian wild dog, the gold wolf or golden jackal with 12 subspecies, the reed wolf, or European jackal, the prairie wolf, or coyote, with 19 subspecies, the red wolf, formerly considered a subspecies of the common wolf, the painted wolf, or African wild dog, a distant relation to the others, the maned wolf, closer in relation to foxes, and the species Canis lupus, considered the common or true wolves, including 25 living subspecies, from the dingo to the most infamous Eurasian wolf or gray wolf. To the common dog, bred and domesticated from wolves by early man 30,000 years ago. Wolves have been found to be able to crossbreed significantly, with many interspecies wolf hybrids, like coy wolves and wolf dogs found worldwide. Though this is a relatively rare occurrence due to most wolf breeds forming tight-knit social groups with low tolerance for outsiders. Most wolves are closest in relation to true jackals, such as the side-striped jackal and the black-backed jackal, with the terms coyote and jackal used in place of wolf for smaller members of the genus. The evolution of wolves began 35 million years ago, evolving from primitive caniforms, or dog-like carnivorous mammals, their family of Canidae then dividing into two tribes, Vulpini being all canines related to foxes, and Canini being all canines related to wolves. In many environments becoming the apex predator, alongside the great cats of the tropics, later diversifying into hundreds of species, including the famed dire wolf, which was the size of a gray wolf with a much heavier build, believed to have been attacking prehistoric humans until a mere 10,000 years ago. Wolves can be found worldwide except Antarctica, in environments as diverse as sand and rock deserts and dry plains, snowy mountains, deep dark woodlands, tropical jungles, grasslands and savannas, ice-covered tundra, and the barren Arctic itself, with the gray wolf having the largest range, found throughout large portions of Asia, northeastern Europe, northern US, and Canada. with smaller populations present in southwestern USA, Germany, France, Spain, Italy, the Balkans, and the Arabian Peninsula. Wolves vary greatly in size, from the smallest jackal being less than 2 feet in length, the largest being the gray wolf at well over 5 feet. Wolves are primarily ferocious predators, often with higher success rates than any other large predators, with the African wild dog succeeding in hunting 3 times as often as lions, feeding mainly on large ungulates or hooved animals, such as deer, moose and elk, boar, and cattle. Occasionally smaller animals such as rats, cats, and hares, even other wolves and dogs, or even humans. All wolves have long legs and lithe bodies, specifically adapted for hunting and chasing prey at high speeds. Large upright ears to detect the direction of any sound, and elongated snouts for reaching into their prey. Their bodies are covered in a protective, often patterned coat with fur of varying length, which can differ in color between subspecies or even between individuals. Most commonly gray, white, brown, yellow, or red with black markings, with some, such as the gray wolf, exhibiting color differences between seasonal coats. Wolves in temperate areas often molt, a short period of extensive shedding revealing a new, different coat emerging underneath, to better regulate body temperature. The dense winter coat of gray wolves thick enough to keep the wolf warm and comfortable at temperatures as low as -40 degrees Celsius, as they bury their nose between their legs and cover their face with their thick, bushy tail. Additionally, most wolves have thick manes or crests that signify their maturity. Wolves are further distinguished from other canines by their large size, wide frame, and broader snout than that of foxes, with proportionally large teeth, particularly long canine teeth, filling the larger oral cavity, intended to tear through flesh and bone with ease. All wolves have a particularly well-developed sense of smell, able to pick up the scent of their prey from miles away when directly in downwind, tracking them for hours, sometimes days. Particularly susceptible to the scent of blood and bodily excretions, with the old adage of being able to smell the fear of their prey not being far from the truth. Often reacting to subtle changes in perspiration and pheromones to pick out the weaker individuals in larger groups. Wolves also exhibit large outer ears, reflecting their superior sense of hearing. Most wolves can react to ultrasonic frequencies so high they are inaudible to most humans or even other animals, allowing wolves to hear the high-pitched sounds of smaller prey, such as rodents, even from great distance, up to 10 times the maximum distance of human hearing. Also able to hear the heartbeat of other nearby animals. The eyesight of wolves is, however, typically inferior, with red-green color blindness, as they only exhibit 2 color receptors in their eyes, as opposed to the 3 found in humans. They are, however, extraordinarily adept at detecting motion by eyesight and identifying animals from afar, and have a very wide field of vision, with some breeds exceeding 270 degrees of vision, with additionally superior night vision, as many wolves are crepuscular or nocturnal hunters, resting during the day, emerging in late afternoon to hunt, under the cover of darkness. Highly social animals, most wolves also hunt in large or medium-sized groups, known as packs, with only younger males being solitary and nomadic in nature, and only the Egyptian jackal and the maned wolf being consistently solitary regardless of age. Wolf packs commonly consist of closely related individuals. Female wolves are often born and raised within the pack, seldom seen leaving it. Males either born in the pack or adopted later as juveniles to ensure genetic diversity and discourage inbreeding, while this relationship is inversed among African wild dogs, with the males staying in their birth pack and females leaving to find new ones. with some species, like dholes, living in much larger communities, only separating into their own packs when hunting. Most wolves sustain complex social structures based on strict hierarchies of dominance, led by a single alpha male or female, followed by several betas, with African wild dogs having separate hierarchies for male and female. The alpha is in charge of all navigation and migration, as well as peacekeeping within the pack, relying on a wide variety of calls, howls, yelps, and growls for both threat displays and other social interactions to diffuse conflicts. Howling notably used to gather or locate the pack or to call an alarm, the length and tone of the howl indicating the different calls, with the howl of a gray wolf being able to be heard across an area of up to 50 square miles, as well as significant body language, their stance reflecting submission or aggression, with particularly the height of the head and tail indicating the difference, lips contracting or retracting, baring or covering teeth to show different emotions, tongues out as a sign of submission or playfulness or lick intention, their hairs erecting when angry, arching their backs to appear larger, ears erect and forward when aggressive, flattened and turned to the side in fear. All species of wolves use some form of grooming as a social display, strengthening social bonds, particularly present among closely related individuals such as mates and parent-cub relations. Play fighting often occurring, particularly among younger individuals, only in rare cases escalating to violent conflict, as the strict hierarchy limits any challenge of dominance until the alpha is significantly weakened or dead, at which point the next of kin, or the next most dominant beta, takes their place, only in rare cases leading to disputes and power struggles, as even after the death of their leadership, the strict hierarchies are respected and followed. The hunt of wolves is typically divided into 5 stages. Locating the prey can occur through either chance encounters or tracking. Most wolves initializing their hunts by traveling until finding a scent, at which point they stand alert, aiming all their senses towards the source of the scent, alerting others in the pack of the direction of their prey. They then stalk their target, quickening their pace gradually as they approach the source of the scent, heads low, peering intently, approaching quietly as not to alert their prey. In the case of herd animals, the target is separated from the group. Once the encounter occurs and the prey detects the wolves, the prey either chooses to flee or stand their ground, at which point the wolves try to intimidate their prey to flee, as they require the stimulus of a running animal to be able to attack. The rush occurs when the prey first decides to flee. The most critical stage of the hunt, the wolves need to immediately give chase or intercept to prevent their prey outrunning them, as many of their natural targets are often fast-moving mammals. This is then followed by the chase, the wolves attempting to either catch up to the target or drive it until it tires. The chase can go on for miles, with many wolves observed to drive their prey into precipices, ravines, and steep banks to slow their prey down. The kill itself is made by bleeding out their prey, either by biting the soft perineum area at the root, seen with the larger prey of gray wolves, or by a single bite to the throat and neck, seen with most smaller wolves or smaller prey. While African wild dogs earned a reputation for their perceived cruelty to animals, for instead attempting to disembowel their prey while they're still alive. All wolves have also been found to be opportunistic, taking part in any prey already fallen from disease or other predators. Though due to the social pack nature of most wolves, scavenging is often not enough to sustain the population, and is only used as a supplement to active hunting. eating the alpha male or female is prioritized, often at the expense of other members in the pack. While among African wild dogs, the betas are the ones to hunt. Bringing home food to the alpha and pups. Females are typically slightly shorter, with thinner necks and smaller shoulders and narrower muzzles. Mating among wolves commonly occurs once or twice a year, though some wolves are fertile throughout the year. Mating is usually preceded by courtship that in some species, such as the golden jackal, takes up to a month, during which time the female is followed by a single or multiple males vying for her attention, sometimes even bringing her food, after which the female chooses her mate, with most wolves forming largely monogamous pairs for the mating season. Some, such as the gray wolf and the coyote, often forming lifelong pairs, with only transient gray wolf males mating with several younger females, a divergent behavior making them known as Casanova wolves. The relationship the alpha has with a mate makes them often officially known as the breeding pair. Other sexually mature individuals are often instead repressed until the death of their alpha, or his or her mate. The mating act itself can take anywhere between a few minutes to an hour, and is repeated for several days or weeks until conception occurs, with pregnancies lasting no more than 2 to 3 months, during which the wolf digs out a sheltered den or reappropriates the den of another animal. Wolf litters vary considerably in size, most having an average of 4 to 6 pups in a single litter, with the maned wolf having as few as 2 to 4 pups, up to 19 pups for African wild dogs, born blind and deaf. Wolf pups are first able to see after a week or 2, able to walk shortly thereafter. They are then nursed for a period of 1 to 4 months, the mother typically staying in the den the entire time. The pup's weight increasing dramatically, often quadrupling during this period, and they already begin play fighting at this time. Gray wolf pups eventually able to accompany their parents on hunts, though the pups are only able to hunt for themselves after nearly a year, instead relying on both their parents to bring home food. Between 1 to 2 years, the wolf reaches maturity and begins to seek both leadership and a mate. Due to their reputation as highly efficient and fearsome hunters, wolves have long been used as symbols for fierceness, warfare, and warrior spirit. Equally revered and feared by Native American tribes, believing the wolf to be a sacred animal and often an omen of things to come. Many Anglo-Saxon kings and warriors also took on the word wolf itself as a prefix or suffix to their name to show their bravery and might, with tales of infamous leaders being raised or adopted by wolves as a sign of their strength, such as the story of Romulus and Remus, the mythical founders of Rome. Once ordered to be killed as infants, they were released into the river Tiber, carried to a she-wolf, nursed them into adulthood. This common identification of warrior man and wolf later gave rise to the concept of lycanthropy, werewolves, being human by day, wolf or wolf men by night, a common myth perpetuated by fantasy literature and filmmaking. Wolves themselves are also an extremely common feature as the antagonist in mythology, folklore, and fairy tales, becoming a generic archetype known worldwide as a sign of evil, such as the big bad wolf attempting to prey on Little Red Riding Hood, or Fenrir of Norse mythology, a great mythical wolf, bound by Odin, destined to grow out of his shackles and consume them, bringing about the apocalypse. Depicted throughout the Bible as a symbol for greed and destruction, reflecting the pastoral culture of biblical Israel, where wolves were the main threat against cattle and sheep. Rarely seen as anything but powerful. Even more positive portrayals of wolves emphasize their danger and wildness, being the subject of many adventure novels. Made infamous for a new generation by authors such as Jack London, romanticizing the wild through his depiction of wolf packs and lone wolves. By contrast, human interaction with wolves has historically been that of domestication and conquering the animal, wolves being the most well-documented animal in history, with the first wolves domesticated by modern man during the Stone Age, used to aid in their hunts, depicted in cave paintings and Stone Age art, running alongside early man, eventually developing into the modern domestic dog, through selective breeding, to form the great diversity of modern dog breeds, with modern dogs having over 340 recognized breeds, adapted for every conceivable purpose, from seeing eye dogs to hunting dogs. Sizes vary considerably from the smallest breed, the Chihuahua, able to fit in a drinking glass, the Great Dane standing up to 44 inches tall, compared to the 30 to 35 inches of the average gray wolf. With many purely aesthetic adaptations, occasionally leading to health concerns with the different breeds, because of their close kinship. Dogs have been known to breed with wolves, giving birth to wolf dogs, an unusual but often highly appreciated pet, as they are highly loyal and quiet. Many wolves today are either endangered or threatened. Many species and subspecies already extinct, such as the Tasmanian wolf, which despite being entirely unrelated to other wolves, inhabited the same ecological niche in Australia, with the Ethiopian wolf having the smallest surviving population in the wild of mere hundreds of individuals, almost entirely due to human intervention, such as loss of habitat and competition with humans for livestock, as well as extensive hunting, as wolves are often perceived as a threat or menace to common hunting targets such as deer and elk. Wolf hides also considered highly valuable for their warmth and smooth texture, particularly among females childbearing or lactating. Their meat also sold for consumption. Illegal poaching remains common when most governments have either banned hunting of certain wolves entirely or enforced strict seasonal hunting regulations to maintain the population. The gray wolf being the most common target, often seen as the ultimate hunting trophy, thanks to their reputation as ferocious and dangerous man-eaters. Despite the fact that the few documented cases of wolves attacking humans have often involved starved or otherwise provoked wolves, with populations steadily decreasing for decades, prompting forced reintroduction of wolves into areas where the population has disappeared entirely. Conservationists worldwide are struggling to keep the wolf alive and well, though for some it may be too late. Until then, they remain out there, in the wild, in the snow-covered mountains and barren tundra, in the deep dark woods of legend, as one of the last wild predators on Earth. Earth, the planet we call our home. From deserts to snowy mountains, as surely as the seasons change, through the passage of time, every inch of our world is, as it has always been, teeming with life, with creatures large and small. Join us in celebrating the mighty wilderness in Wild About. The ocean. Infinitely vast and mysterious. Underneath the mighty waves, another world, seldom seen by human eyes, awaits. A world of beauty. A world of excitement. But also a world of dangers lurking around every corner. For beneath the tranquil waves, a predator is on the prowl. A creature that knows no fear, no remorse, no end in sight, except kill or be killed. of the most diverse and unique family of animals. Sharks evolved hundreds of millions of years ago to be the ultimate predator of the ocean deep, with over 470 species of sharks described, over 13 orders. They exist in every ocean, in every corner of the planet, with a few even existing in freshwater lakes and rivers. It is also one of the most prolific predators on Earth. They range from the deep-sea lantern shark, the size of a human hand, to the great whale shark, the largest now living species of fish on Earth. Though commonly thought to be solitary predators, ranging the ocean in search of food, this is only true for a handful of species. Many more retain a more sedentary lifestyle, lying in wait of nearby prey, or patrolling a smaller area. And many shark breeds, such as the hammerhead, are indeed highly social, forming schools of hundreds of individuals, sometimes forming cross-species groups. They've existed long before there were animals on land, and before plant life had taken hold. Sharks evolved over 400 million years ago. Though they looked very similar to the sharks of today, the first species were considerably different internally. With most species existing not only in the shallow primordial oceans, but also in the freshwater lakes, trawling along the soft, muddy seabeds. The modern shark emerged around the time of the dinosaurs, flourishing after their extinction, with species such as the megalodon, which could grow to be as large as 66 feet, compared to the great white of today, averaging at a mere 20 feet, feeding on whales and giant sea creatures. Closely related to the rays, skates, and chimeras. Sharks belong to a wider group of ancient fish, with a skeleton made out of cartilage rather than bone, making them significantly lighter than other fish of the same size, but also more flexible, and weaker in skeletal structure, leading to many sharks that become stranded on dry land, to be crushed under their own weight. Most sharks have 8 fins, all made up of an elastic protein, similar to the keratin found in human fingernails. The fins include a pair of pectoral fins, 2 pelvic fins, 2 dorsal fins, an anal fin, and a caudal fin, the main propulsion for every shark. The shape of the caudal fin signifies the lifestyle and habitats of the shark. Vertically symmetrical, crescent-shaped tails signify fast-swimming sharks, such as the mackerel shark, and enhances their swimming speed, power, and efficiency, but it doesn't allow for much precision in quick twists and turns. Top-heavy caudal fins, where the top half is upward-facing and significantly larger than the bottom half, make up the most common type for sharks, and provides greater flexibility and agility for the shark. With combined cruising efficiency and sharp turning ability, thresher sharks and requiem sharks are included in this group, with the thresher even using the top lobe as a stinger to stun its prey. Shark breeds sticking closer to the muddy bottom, such as the cat shark, have this type of fin, but even more so, sacrificing speed. Dogfish sharks have similar tails, but where the backbone runs lower than the lobe itself, reducing downward thrust and thus their average speed, but in return allows for quick bursts and great agility. Angel sharks are highly unusual in that regard. Their lower lobe is significantly larger than their upper one, as they are more closely related to rays, and spend their time hidden against the ocean floor, awaiting nearby prey to come within range of attack. Also, unlike other fish, sharks have a tightly woven mesh of teeth-like scales for their skin, known as dermal denticles. The tiny sharp scales are made of flexible collagen fibers, functioning as a thin outer skeleton with muscle attachment points, allowing for superhuman muscle strength and endurance, while conserving the shark's energy. Energy used by the shark's breathing system in order to pass the amounts of richly oxygenated seawater required through the gills. Sharks have developed two physical means of breathing. Either they swim through the water at significant speeds, with their mouths held open in order to take in water, or they pump it in by flexing and undulating their buccal muscles, drawing water in with each breath. As buccal breathing is heavily energy intensive, many sharks have entirely abandoned that as a means for breathing. Instead, they are required constantly to be moving, swimming, hunting, without rest or reprieve. The shark's jaw is also not attached to the skull, instead being upheld by massively powerful muscles and a mosaic pattern of crystallized salt plates known as tesserae, sometimes arranged in several layers for extra durability, giving it the same strength at its weakest spot as the hardest bone. Whereas the snout is often made out of spongy, soft cartilage, able to not just withstand, but absorb direct impact as it charges its prey. Also, unlike bony fish, sharks don't have gas-filled swim bladders for buoyancy, but rather a large liver filled with oils lighter than water. Thanks to their large and well-developed pectoral fins, sharks can also maintain depth by dynamic lift, angling their fins to create lift while moving forward, gliding through the water, much like the wings of an airplane. The average shark cruise speed is fairly low, only slightly faster than the average human walking speed, but can increase to speeds up to that of city traffic, with the fastest being the short-fin mako shark at 30 miles per hour. Sharks are never truly asleep, with some breeds required to continue swimming in a semi-dormant state. And all sharks sleep with their eyes open, following every visible movement by instinct. Widely known for their sense of smell, sharks can detect even the tiniest drop of blood in the water, and can determine the exact direction and distance by smell alone. Many sharks also focus in on the distinctive smell of the chemical processes found in the digestive systems of their prey, leading many sharks to be confused and hover around sewage outlets. Their sense of sight is also highly evolved, with an eye structure highly similar to the human eye. They have similar lenses, corneas, and retinas, even dilating pupils. But the shark's eye is also uniquely adapted to marine life, with exceptional low-light eyesight and uninterrupted stereoscopic vision, as they never blink, with the surrounding waters effectively cleaning their eyes for them, though they are effectively colorblind, with many sharks only being able to see shades of green and gray. The shark's sense of hearing is also acutely developed, enabling the shark to hear prey from miles away, via a small opening on each side of the head, connected to a series of openings all along the skull, making the shark highly sensitive to direct vibrations and electrical fields generated by all living organisms. As every animal generates some small measure of electrical activity through muscle activity, the shark can sense the mere presence of even a buried prey in pitch-black conditions. The shark has the most sensitive form of electrolocation known in the animal kingdom, responding to fields as low in charge as 5 nanovolts per centimeter, and changes in the surrounding water temperature. It is believed that sharks even use the electromagnetic fields of the Earth itself to navigate the seas. Lifespans vary by species, as does its prey. Most sharks live 20 to 30 years, but with the whale sharks and certain dogfish far outlasting human lives. Most sharks are carnivorous and feed off smaller fish and other marine animals, such as schools of mackerel, halibut, clownfish, pipefish, eel, squid, goby, or crustaceans, as some have developed unique flat teeth to crack their shells. Some sharks even commonly attack and feed on other sharks, as well as larger sea mammals like dolphins and seals. More sedentary shark breeds suck their prey into their mouths once they're near, while others actively hunt in packs to take down a common prey, traveling hundreds of miles to do it. While most fish reproduce by laying a vast multitude of eggs that hatch into many undeveloped young, sharks carry only a few eggs, turning into highly developed young. Young sharks that age relatively slowly, with some species taking decades to reach sexual maturity. Intercourse among sharks is also internal, unlike most fish, where the rear of the male's pelvic fin may be used to deliver semen into the female. Mating is rarely observed, but is usually preceded by a period of courtship, wherein the male swims alongside the female, biting her to show interest and eventually to secure a position for intercourse. Some cases have been reported of asexual reproduction among sharks, where a female has conceived without any prior contact with a male. It is unknown how often it occurs, if at all, in the wild. The eggs are commonly carried by the female for an extended pregnancy, while hatching inside her oviduct, where the yolk and secreted fluids nourish the young sharks before being born. The whole process may take as long as 2 years, from conception to birth, for some sharks. Many shark species take the opportunity to consume the other unhatched eggs while still in the oviduct, or consuming their neighboring embryos. A few shark species, such as hammerheads, bull sharks, and blue sharks, maintain a placental link to the embryo rather than an egg, leading to live births highly similar to mammalian pregnancy and delivery. Only a select few sharks lay their eggs outside of their body, often hiding them in crevices and dark corners where they are hard to access by predators. After birth or hatching, the young are typically left to fend for themselves. Sharply intelligent, sharks have shown inquisitive behavior and can even be playful among themselves. Originally referred to by sailors as sea dogs, the word shark itself comes from the German Schurke, meaning villain or evildoer, reflecting their intensely negative associations and common human sensibilities towards the animal. Though often depicted as man-eaters and monsters of the deep, sharks are ultimately responsible for the deaths of only a dozen people over a 10-year period. Out of the nearly 500 species, only 4 have ever been confirmed to have attacked humans: the bull shark, the white tip shark, the tiger shark, and the great white, all of which constituting the biggest carnivorous sharks, who are prone to get aggressive when provoked or tempted by starvation to attack. In occasional instances, they can confuse the contours of surfers with sea turtles or seals, becoming attracted to the swimmer by the vibrations and splashes in the water, as well as shiny objects the swimmer is wearing, such as watches and jewelry. The perception of sharks as dangerous man-eaters has, however, been perpetuated through mainstream media, with the few attacks that occur often significantly publicized, such as the Jersey Shore attacks of 1916, where an unknown shark killed 4, injuring 1 along the shores of New Jersey during a 2-week period. Because of this and their unique physical properties, shark fishing has been immensely popular, with 100 million sharks killed by humans every year, often for the sake of shark finning, where the shark is pulled up on deck, their fins cut off while they're still alive, and then dumped back into the ocean, unable to swim. They frequently die slowly from predation or suffocation, as they are unable to swim to pass water through their gills. The fins are then used in the highly valued delicacy known as shark fin soup, considered a status symbol in Asian countries, often ascribed near mythical qualities of being alternatively a potent aphrodisiac or significantly extending one's life. This despite the high levels of mercury found in shark meat, which can be potentially poisonous. As a result, shark breeds have become increasingly endangered, with more and more species put on red lists every year for being commonly fished and sold from unsustainable populations. Sharks have also long been notoriously difficult to maintain in captivity. In particular, the great white, which has never survived longer than 7 months in captivity. Only in fully equipped ocean parks can any other shark species survive for long, with many dubious dealers selling sharks to home aquariums, leading to unwitting owners accidentally killing them. The shark, the mightiest predator of the sea, is quickly becoming hunted into extinction. Based on superstition and misconception. Only intensive preservation efforts and increased public awareness may save them. But even then, some say it may be too late. Until that day, sharks will continue to stalk waters everywhere as one of the last remaining wild predators on Earth. Earth, the planet we call our home. From deserts to snowy mountains, as surely as the seasons change, through the passage of time, every inch of our world is, as it has always been, teeming with life, with creatures large and small. Join us in celebrating the mighty wilderness in Wild About. Mankind has become the pinnacle of life on Earth. Most of us don't give a second thought to our humble origins. Rising out of the ocean depths, crawling onto the muddy banks of a primordial Earth, something else evolved. Alongside the dinosaurs, the birds, and the mammals, something hardened by nature and weathered by time. Cold-blooded, skin scaly and dry, sprawling legs, claws and spikes. Found everywhere from oceans, rivers, and lakes, to jungles, forests, and deserts. Up among the trees and down amidst the grass, a creature older than time itself. A widespread group of over 6,000 species. Lizards belong to the group Lacertilia, part of a group known as squamates, reptiles with horny scales or shields, and mobile upper jaws relative to the rest of their skull, most having outer ears, and gaps in their skull for muscle attachment points. Lizards are distinct from other squamata, like snakes, who once descended from them. And the tuatara, the uniquely primitive lizard-like reptiles of New Zealand, superficially similar but closer to the ancient turtles than the modern lizard. Lizards first evolved 220 million years ago, during the Triassic period, alongside the early dinosaurs with which they are so often associated, stemming from the same common ancestor that would eventually evolve into mammals, with species during the Cretaceous periods growing enormous, reclaiming the seas, with mosasaurs closely related to the monitor lizards of today stalking the ocean depths, the largest of which, Hinosaurus, may have been more than 50 feet, attacking sharks and other large aquatic reptiles. Prehistoric terrestrial lizards also found to grow to huge sizes, with Megalania of Australia being another relative of the monitor lizards of today, up to 23 feet in length, living as late as 30,000 years ago, possibly encountering the first Aboriginal settlers. Lizards today come in all shapes and sizes. From the smallest lizard, the Bruchisia microchameleon, barely over an inch long in its adult form, to the largest, the Komodo dragon, at over 10 feet in length, with the majority being around 5 to 15 inches long. They are found worldwide, on every continent and major landmass, outside of the bitter cold of Antarctica. They're spread out across most islands and atolls, anywhere warm enough for them to sustain bodily activity, as they are cold-blooded or ectothermic, producing very little metabolic heat, instead remaining around the same temperature as their surroundings. In order to be active, feed, move, and reproduce, lizards therefore have to stay in warm areas or in sunlight in order to elevate their body temperature, with lizards in colder climates commonly becoming dormant during the winter season, hiding in a small crawl space or digging a small burrow to protect it from the colds and opportunistic predators. They're known to be aquatic, terrestrial, and arboreal, both herbivores, feeding on leaves, flowers, roots, and shoots, frugivores, feeding on any and all types of fruit, and carnivores, feeding on anything between insects, spiders, grasshoppers, larvae, centipedes, to carrion, snails, frogs, rodents, and snakes, even other lizards. Most lizards share the same basic body shape, quadrupeds with 4 sprawling legs, sprinters more than long-distance runners. A few species, such as the collared lizard, also able to run as a biped for short distances. All lizards have a horizontally aligned spine and a neck, with commonly large heads, counterbalanced by a tail comprised mostly of muscle and fatty tissue. All have a multitude of teeth, many even having teeth along the roof of their mouths, with only chameleons and agamids not able to continuously replace their teeth. Lizards are identifiable by their commonly superior eyesight, the chameleons notably having eyes that independently move, leading to extensive visual communication between members of the same species, by body language and color. Agamas, known for their bright, colorful patterns, even using markings only visible under UV light, as many lizards can see far beyond the spectrum visible to humans, with hearing ability varying greatly from species to species. Not as good as most mammals, but superior to that of snakes, instead found to be more sensitive to ground and air vibrations, often remaining extremely still when feeling the slightest presence of another animal. Lizards can be divided into 2 known suborders: Iguania, including all iguanas, chameleons, helmet lizards, agamids, collared lizards, leopard lizards, chuckwallas, spiny lizards, anoles, and tropidurid lizards, distinguished by being mostly arboreal, with either clawed or opposing fingers and toes for better gripping, commonly arched backs, varying skin texture of knobs and spines, to both deter predators by the sight of it, impress females, as well as break up their outline as a form of camouflage, and having primitive fleshy tongues, some even having scales, though chameleons are unique within the group by commonly having long sticky tongues that can be projected over 2 times the length of the chameleon itself to catch a flying insect at great speeds. They are also among the most prolific types of lizards, with the genus Anolis having nearly 400 species worldwide. Second among the suborders of lizards is the Scleroglissa, including all other forms of lizard, making up the broadest suborder of lizards, further divided into 3 infraorders: Geckota, including all forms of gecko, and the legless, flap-footed lizards. Geckos are widely known for their remarkable ability to crawl up vertical walls, even upside down, thanks to unique adhesive toe pads, made up of several rolls of tiny bristles arranged in skin flaps, or lamellae, producing significant adhesion able to support the weight of nearly 300 pounds hanging upside down, each bristle less than 1/10 the thickness of the smallest human hair. Geckos are also unique among lizards for being primarily nocturnal, also displaying significant night vision, up to 300 times as sensitive as that of the human eye. Geckos are also rare among lizards for their ability to significantly vocalize, using a variety of chirping sounds for social interaction and courtship. Also included in Geckota is the family of Pygopodidae, or snake lizards. Though they are not believed to be directly related to snakes, they, much like glass lizards, exhibit no limbs. The second infraorder, Amphisbaenia, is also highly similar, made up of 5 families of what are commonly known as worm lizards, lacking external limbs, but are commonly pink in color with scales arranged in rings, more closely resembling earthworms. And the final infraorder, Autauarchoglossa, including skinks, alligator lizards, slow worms, gallywasps, glass lizards, girdle-tail lizards, beaded lizards, Gila monsters, race runners, whiptails, plated lizards, spectacled lizards, night lizards, monitor lizards, and wall lizards, also known as true lizards, with snakes evolving out of this group. Most also have similar forked tongues used for taste and smell, constantly bringing air particles back into the mouth into what is known as Jacobson's organ. The infraorder is also unique in having the only venomous lizards, with the Gila monster, the beaded lizard, and all monitor lizards, or varanids, having mild venom glands in their lower jaws, typically used for defense, with the possible exception of the larger monitor lizards, such as the Komodo dragon, biting its prey, then waiting for the venom and infection to set in, with only a handful of monitor lizards in the Philippines being frugivorous, all other monitors preferring large, meaty prey, with the smallest monitor, the short-tailed monitor of Australia, being 10 inches long, with the average size of most monitors being around 3 feet. The largest, the Komodo dragon, has even been known to stalk, attack, and kill humans. Found only in 3 small islands of Indonesia, they are unique among lizards for having a high metabolic rate, unidirectional pulmonary airflow with air sacs similar to birds, allowing them quick sprinting and longer dashes, and high intelligence, having been shown to be able to use strategies such as acting as decoys to lure other animals such as crocodiles away from their nests, while their partner feeds on their eggs. The true lizards, being the most common lizards found throughout Europe, often seen as the archetypal lizard, a family encompassing hundreds of species across 37 genera, most being small, under 6 inches long. The largest, the Gran Canaria giant lizard, being a rarity at up to 31 inches in length. All members being highly similar in form and function, with the species distinct only by their highly varied patterns and colors. Skinks are seen as highly similar to true lizards, but with no pronounced neck and smaller limbs. A few species lacking legs altogether. They are the most prolific family of lizards, with over 1,500 described species worldwide. Skinks are also most known for a love of digging and burrowing, most spending their time underground, digging out tunnels, using their tongues to sniff out and track their prey, being active hunters of insects. Unlike snakes, lizard shedding commonly takes place little by little. The hard scales, unable to expand as the lizard grows, discarded individually or in larger flakes rather than all at once. The only exception being the alligator lizard, shedding the entirety of its skin with regular intervals, with most lizards continuously growing throughout their lives. Due to their small size, many lizards employ different methods of self-defense. Some are quick sprinters, reacting quickly to the slightest movement or vibrations, fleeing into dark corners and tight spaces where they can't easily be pursued by larger predators. Most relying on camouflage, their color patterns and rough skin textures mimicking their surroundings, with both chameleons and agamid lizards having the ability to change color to blend into their environment or to regulate their body temperature by turning darker during the day in order to absorb more daylight and become more active. This is accomplished through 3 layers of specialized cells underneath the surface of their otherwise transparent skin. The top layer shifting the amount of yellow and red pigments visible, the second layer blending blue and white, the third adjusting the overall darkness of the color. Some also employ hard bites and even mild venoms. The slow-moving Gila monster, lacking fangs, it instead bites down and chews to inject its venom. Others are covered in sharp spines and thorns, such as the Australian thorny devil, also employing a false head of soft tissue on the back of its neck to distract predators from the more vital organs when under attack. Similarly, worm lizards have a tail that closely resembles the head to confuse predators, leading to the popular image of the 2-headed serpent. Most geckos, skinks, and a few other lizard species can also discard or shed their tail when threatened, a process known as autotomy or self-amputation, wherein the discarded tail portion continues to wiggle as an automatic muscle reflex, distracting predators while the lizard itself flees, with the gecko eventually regenerating it as a new cartilaginous rather than bony tail, often displaying significant discoloration from the original limb, while the ground skink, which stores food preserves in the tail portion, often returns to the discarded tail later to consume it, in order to regain part of the sacrificed supplies. Other lizards also rely on threatening displays, such as hissing, or various methods of making themselves appear larger, such as the frilled lizard, unfurling a shield of skin around their neck to make it appear larger, or the blue-tongued lizard, sticking out its large blue tongue when threatened to confuse its pursuer. Many are also highly territorial, using similar methods to scare off other lizards from their area. Their territory is often dominated by males, encompassing one or several females. Most lizards have fixed mating seasons, larger lizards often mating once a year, smaller lizards mating more frequently, and can be both polygamous and polyandrous, while a few lizards, such as some whiptail lizards, geckos, Komodo dragons, and rock lizards, can employ asexual reproduction, or virgin conception, effectively reproducing as clones. Mating is often preceded by a period of courtship, wherein the male courts the female, either through offering the female prey, gestures and dances, or colorful displays, with many lizards using dewlaps or small inflatable skin flaps around their neck to impress their mates. Mating is often brief and fleeting, after which the male often leaves to find other mates. The female can then lay between 2 to 50 eggs, with uncertain survival rates as most lizards abandon their eggs from that point on, open to attack from predators, including birds, snakes, and other lizards, except for some skinks and glass lizards who vigilantly guard their eggs. Incubation periods among lizard eggs vary greatly, anywhere between weeks to months, the young lizards emerging from the eggs looking much like miniaturized versions of their parents. A few species don't lay eggs, however, instead being viviparous, holding the eggs within their bodies until hatching, at which point they emerge as live births, such as nearly half of all skinks. Lizard lifespans vary greatly, with chameleons often living 1 to 3 years, others such as wall lizards between 5 to 10, with geckos and iguanas lasting into their teens or even 20s. A Mexican beaded lizard known to live nearly 34 years in captivity, with older specimens believed to exist in the wild. The word lizard comes from the Latin word lacertus, meaning arm, coming from the Proto-Indo-European term for to bend or twist, as lizards commonly identified by their sprawling quadruped walk, elbows and knees pointing outward. Throughout history, they have been associated with any number of symbols, with different cultures attributing different qualities to different kinds of lizards. In ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics, the lizard representing all things multiple or plentiful. Due to their prevalence throughout Egypt and Africa at large. The Dogon tribe of Africa, on the other hand, using engravings of lizard as protection from evil spirits. The Babanki tribe, similarly holding the lizard as a representation of household tranquility. While among the Bamum in Cameroon, it is often seen as a fertility symbol, used to wish well upon newlywed couples and expectant mothers, with the Romans also associating lizards with death and resurrection due to their winter hibernation. While in Christian mythology, lizards have been seen as significantly more ambivalent, often associated with the evil and darkness of the serpent or snake, or with the representation of contemplation or ecstasy, stemming from their fondness for basking in the sunlight, appearing deep in thought. With some indigenous cultures, primarily Native American and Australian Aboriginal, also worshipping the lizard as a symbol for patience, or a trance-like dream state, also appearing as a symbol for New Age culture today. While in modern culture, lizards have instead been depicted as slow-moving, often equally slow-witted and emotionless creatures, if not outright cruel, due to the cannibalistic tendencies of some lizards, as well as their callousness regarding their offspring. Feared for their inhuman appearance and cold skin, and the flickering forked tongue of some, associated with their dark and primitive beginnings, often likened to dinosaurs with which they have a distant relation. Appearing in sci-fi horror movies as the archetypal monster attacking mankind, or seen as vermin and pests, much like insects. Despite their worldwide prevalence, their diet of insects and other pests, and meager threat, with even the venomous species of lizards not being lethal to adult humans. Only the Komodo dragon found to be outright dangerous. In many tropical countries and among indigenous cultures, lizards are also often cooked and consumed, either as a fried treat or a full meal. Some today are also popular as pets, particularly different species of iguanas and chameleons, and some smaller monitor lizards, being very docile and peaceful creatures, kept either in enclosed terrariums or even left wandering around their owners' homes. The lizards are notoriously difficult to train effectively, most species far less responsive than mammalian pets or even birds, and seldom exhibiting any reciprocation of affection, though often claimed to be easy to maintain. Many lizards, with iguanas in particular, having very particular requirements and needs for both habitat and diet, including regular long-term exposure to sunlight and water, and particular foods, leaves, and insects, with many new lizard owners neglecting their needs, leading to their premature deaths, while some species have grown to flourish in human environments. Geckos often found around human settlements and homes throughout tropical countries around the world, some even displaying an affinity to humans. Many lizard species are today endangered, particularly larger tropical lizards, mostly due to climate change, shrinking habitats, and human intervention, as divisive as they are prevalent, being among the oldest animals around, surviving natural disasters and mass extinctions over hundreds of millions of years. Though we consider ourselves the dominant species on the planet, they existed here long before us, and will continue to exist long after we are gone. remaining one of the last wild animals on Earth. Earth, the planet we call our home. From deserts to snowy mountains, as surely as the seasons change, through the passage of time, every inch of our world is, as it has always been, teeming with life, with creatures large and small. Join us in celebrating the mighty wilderness in Wild About. At the ends of the earth, in the farthest reaches of the world, past jungles and forests, grasslands and hilltops, deep in the unforgiving cold, in the freezing waters, rocky shores, and icy slopes. An animal unlike any other battles the elements, born for the seas, where their brethren were born for the skies, thriving in places few would survive, fish eaters and fast swimmers, flightless birds, hunters of the southern seas, kings and emperors among them, rulers of the ice and snow. All penguins are semi-aquatic, spending more than half their lives in the water, being excellent swimmers. Save for occasional accents of color, all penguins are predominantly black and white in appearance. Black on their backs and heads, white across their abdomen, an appearance frequently called a tuxedo. This pattern constitutes a form of camouflage known as countershading, the blacks blending in with the dark seas when seen from above, the whites making them hard to distinguish against the bright sunlight when seen from below. Only found in the southern hemisphere, penguins are among the few species of animal particularly prevalent in Antarctica, withstanding the harshest cold found on Earth, with temperatures reaching as low as 50 below 0 Celsius, in conditions that would be lethal to even a heavily dressed human being. Though contrary to popular belief, many penguin species also exist in temperate areas of South America and Oceania, with the Galapagos penguin even existing near the equator, with the northern penguin species typically being smaller than the ones found in Antarctica. The smallest, the little blue penguin, standing a mere 13 inches in length, being found along the coastlines of New Zealand and South Australia, while the largest, the famous emperor penguin, stands at 3 feet 7 inches and is found only in Antarctica itself. Penguins first evolved from other prehistoric birds around the death of the dinosaurs 60 to 70 million years ago, with the fossilized remains of early basal penguins found in New Zealand and Antarctica, with dense flippers, adapted specifically for a semi-aquatic life as opposed to flying. Their bones flattened, broadened, and fused together to form a single stiff surface, covered in short scale-like feathers. Penguins soon also grew larger than other birds as they were no longer confined by aerodynamics and by the need to keep a low body weight, some modern penguins becoming as heavy as 90 pounds, with solid, dense bones to overcome buoyancy, as opposed to the hollow bones of flying birds. Certain prehistoric penguins have been known to become the size of a full-grown man, such as the Anthropornis existing around 40 million years ago. Penguins today consist of 20 different species, which can be divided into 6 different genus. They can be distinguished by size and a wide array of subtle markings. Aptenidites, or great penguins, consisting of the king penguin and the emperor penguin, known for their large size, bright yellow-orange necks, bills, and breasts. They are the most primitive penguins and exist mainly around the coasts of Antarctica and its surrounding islands. Pygaceus, or brush-tailed penguins, known for their distinctive formation of tail feathers unique to the 3 surviving species, existing mainly around Antarctica but extending further north than the great penguins. Eudyptula, or little penguins, made up of the 2 smallest species known, the little blue and the white flippered penguin, found mainly in New Zealand. Pheniscus, or banded penguins, consisting of 4 species, distinguished by their large black band patterns running down the length of their bodies, as well as their loud braying calls, with most found in South America, as well as one species, the African penguin, in southernmost South Africa, and the Galapagos penguin, found only in the Galapagos Islands far off the coast of Ecuador. Megadiptes, a genus only consisting of the yellow-eyed penguin of New Zealand. Its closest relative, the white taha penguin, having become extinct sometime during the past 700 years. And the Eudiptes, or crested penguins, the most widespread family of penguins, found across Antarctica, South America, New Zealand, in the Indian, Pacific, and Atlantic Oceans, known for their colorful appearance, with prominent yellow crests and red bills, and are the only penguins to display any sexual dimorphism, with males being somewhat bigger and having larger bills than females, and are also known to crossbreed, producing hybrid species. While on land, penguins often appear clumsy, waddling along in a hurried pace, easily toppling over, their high center of gravity and small feet necessitating the use of their stiff tails to support their upright stance, a stance developed to minimize their exposure to harsh winds and cold weather. Penguins use their flippers to maintain balance while walking, leading to the popular depiction of penguins as childlike or physically awkward, only occasionally sliding on their bellies across the snow, a movement known as tobogganing, or jumping with both feet across steep or rocky terrain. Their true element is the water, however, with their small webbed feet pushed far back to further streamline their bodies, depending instead on their flippers for underwater locomotion, using them in water much like flying birds use their wings in the air. Penguins usually swim up to 8 miles per hour, able to reach burst speeds up to 24 miles per hour. They are also able to leap as high as 10 feet straight up in the air from the water surface to land on ice shelves, with many penguins also leaping in and out of the water to take breaths while not losing forward momentum, a practice known as porpoising, and is particularly common among smaller penguins who stick closer to the surface, often hovering around 50 to 60 feet deep, while larger penguins can dive even deeper, the emperor penguin in rare cases having been recorded going as deep as 1,800 feet, for as long as 27 minutes in a single breath. As penguins often take in large quantities of seawater, they have developed a unique way of dealing with the high salt content, thanks to a specialized supraorbital gland located just above the eyes, filtering out the salt, excreting as a brine solution through the bill, often constantly dripping from their nasal passages, appearing similar to a runny nose, even occasionally sneezed out. Their keen eyesight has also been specifically developed for the extreme differences in lighting conditions with full color vision. Their pupils can expand up to 300 times its most constricted size in order to see in the murky waters, and is also believed to be able to sense even ultraviolet light, using the light and the position of the sun as a navigational tool during the day, as well as finding a mate as the bills of some male penguins reflect ultraviolet light. Their sense of smell has also been shown to be significant compared to other birds, with the olfactory lobe of a penguin's brain being substantially larger, in order to smell areas dense with prey. All penguins are carnivorous, feeding mainly on fish, squid, krill, and other crustaceans. Penguins typically hunt by diving and swimming rapidly, catching their prey in their mouths. The bill of different penguins varies in shape with their diet. Species that specialize in fish tend to have longer, thinner bills, to aid in grasping and holding their prey as well as reaching inside it, while penguins that specialize at eating in smaller crustaceans such as krill have shorter, broader bills, to take in more prey in a single bite. Their mouth is further lined with small, thorny spikes facing the throat, even their tongue having a rough, spiny texture, to further aid in holding and swallowing their prey alive. Penguins often have very large hunting ranges, from a short 10-mile radius in areas abundant with prey, to up to nearly 1,000 miles for emperor penguins who hunt for larger fish. Though most penguins stick close to the shoreline, some finding themselves far from sea can also seek out seal holes and other cracks in the ice to gain access to the water. Their smooth plumage also preserves a layer of air for buoyancy, and to insulate the penguin from waters so cold. Most other animals would suffer severe hypothermia from swimming in it, with specialized feathers covering every inch of the penguin's body, closely spaced, short and broad with tufts of down on the feather shafts themselves, protecting the penguin's skin from the water. Penguins have, as a result, more feathers relative to its body surface than any other bird, with some species having over 100 feathers per square inch of skin. Penguins often seen preening or cleaning their feathers from water and dirt, while a gland near the base of their bill secretes an oil to aid in the insulating effect of the plumage. All penguins shed their feathers once or twice a year, usually after breeding seasons, known as molting, to replace worn-out feathers that have lost their insulating abilities, during which the penguins are highly sensitive to moisture and cold temperatures, staying on land for the duration of the molt, fasting until completion, instead relying on fat reserves accumulated for months prior to molting. The new feathers emerge underneath the old ones, pushing them out in patches, lending them an unusually scruffy look, as the old feathers will not fall off until the new ones are fully in place. Their large size further limits heat loss as well, by reducing relative surface area to their body mass. And they're also known to shiver and huddle together in groups to generate additional heat, particularly over the harsh Antarctic winter months, aided by an additional layer of fat, which in emperor penguins can grow to be over an inch thick. Penguins are also able to control blood flow to their extremities at will, able to reduce the amount of blood that gets cold by decreasing the heart rate while diving, as well as using complex countercurrent heat exchange system while on land, where the blood vessels carrying out fresh blood out into the limbs transfers their warmth to blood returning to the heart, thereby conserving heat. While some, like Galapagos penguins, have the rare issue of often overheating, causing them to periodically ruffle their feathers to release heat, while the African penguin and Humboldt penguin have bare patches on their legs and faces where excess heat can dissipate. Penguins are highly social animals, though sometimes traveling and hunting in smaller numbers than individuals. All penguins are colonial, with most gathering over mating season, forming large colonies known as rookeries, which consist of a few hundred individuals, as with the Gentoo penguins, up to hundreds of thousands, with the king, macaroni, and chinstrap penguins, covering areas of hundreds of square kilometers, the only exceptions being the yellow-eyed and fjordland penguins, who breed as individual pairs. As a result, penguins have a wide array of visual and auditory communications, with different calls and postures and flapping of their wings indicative of either welcoming greetings or antagonistic displays to ward off unwanted individuals or avoid conflict. The different vocalizations of penguins are divided into three categories, the contact call being the loudest, able to be heard nearly a mile away among the larger penguin species, and is used to identify and greet colony members. The display call being the most complex call, used among partner penguins, and conveys territorial, sexual, and individual recognition information, as all penguin calls are also individually identifiable, allowing mates to recognize each other by sound. The last being the threat call, the simplest of all calls, and is used to defend the territory or to call attention to a nearby predator. Breeding season takes place every 12 to 16 months, with only the emperor penguin breeding during winter, while most others breed during summer, during which penguins form monogamous pairs, usually changing only because their mate from the previous year fails to return to the same nesting area. The location of the rookery area typically stays the same year after year, and is often farther inland than their normal hunting grounds, sometimes by dozens of miles, with the rockhopper penguins particularly known for returning to the same spot on the same day year after year to mate. Males arrive first to establish a nest area, often fasting to focus their entire attention on the preparation of the nest site. Nesting sites vary greatly between species, from forest lands and bushes, to rocky shores, to flat inland ice shelves. Most build nests with stones or twigs, crucial in the courtship of becoming females. There are three distinct types of courtship displays. The ecstatic display, also known as trumpeting, comes first. where calls and head swinging indicates the male has established possession of a nest site and warns other males to stay away. This is then followed by the mutual ecstatic, where the female reciprocates the ecstatic display to show her interest, facing her mate, doing the movements either alternating or in unison, establishing a pair bond. The mutual ecstatic display also continues throughout egg incubation and chick feeding. The last stage is bowing, where one or both partners lower their heads, pointing their bill at that of their mate, followed by a low hiss or growl, which strengthens recognition between partners and resolves any conflict. Before mating, one mate bows deeply to the other to indicate their intentions. Their mate does the same before consummation. The mating act itself is typically very brief. The female can then lay 1 or 2 eggs, while the emperor and king penguins instead opt to incubate their single egg on the top of their feet, fitting under a loose fold in the lower abdomen, where a featherless patch known as a brood patch is filled with blood vessels, transferring heat from the body to the egg. Both partners share in incubating the eggs, taking turns while the other searches for food to bring back to their mate. With the exception of the emperor penguin, where the father is solely responsible for the egg. After hatching, the chicks are similarly looked after by both parents, one staying behind while the other hunts and brings back food, regurgitating into the mouth of the chick and their mate. As the chicks are born small and defenseless, either naked or with a thin brown, white, or gray plumage, that changes only after the penguin reaches adolescence, with the Adelaide chicks undergoing their first molt after 2 months of age, while the king penguin's chick only molts after a year, with all penguins taking an additional 2 to 7 years to reach maturity. Most penguins are long-lived, with lifespans often around 15 to 20 years. The mortality rates among chicks and younger penguins are often high due to the extreme conditions many penguins are exposed to, with over half the king penguin chicks dying of starvation during the harsh winter months, and emperor penguin chicks having an even higher mortality rate of 90% in their first year of life. Penguins are often killed by predators such as leopard seals, fur seals, sea lions, sharks, or killer whales. Prey on the eggs and chicks of penguins that strayed too far from the rookeries or are too sickly or too weak to defend themselves. The word penguin itself originated as a term for the now extinct great auk of the North Atlantic. Though only distantly related to penguins, they were similar enough in appearance that when the first European explorers traveled south, they named them after the same Welsh term, pen gwyn, meaning white head. Penguins quickly became popular among explorers and sailors for their apparent lack of fear of humans, as many Antarctic species lack land predators. Their upright stance and curious demeanor are often leading to humanized depictions in art and culture, often depicted as friendly and comical, with an exaggerated sense of dignity despite their physical limitations. Frequently made use of as a non-threatening or child-friendly logotype or mascot for companies and organizations, and often appearing as animated characters in children's shows or as popular plush toys. Though since their discovery, with the first explorers on Antarctica and their surrounding islands, many new predators were also introduced, such as dogs, rats, and cats, that soon targeted the easy prey of unsuspecting penguins, as well as being hunted specifically by humans for both their meat and their eggs, with many indigenous peoples originating penguin hunting. Continued by Western fishermen and explorers who found penguins to be an easy source of food due to their inability to fly and lack of fear of humans. as well as penguin skin used to make items of clothing such as caps and slippers. Their dense feathers often used as stuffing. The oil found in the body fat of penguins also once considered valuable, with penguin hunting for oil particularly popular in the Falkland Islands, once known for their sizable population of penguins, with 5 different species often nesting on the island. Over 2.5 million penguins are estimated to have been killed over just a 15-year period during the early 1900s. A frenzy ending only with the introduction of cheaper chemical alternatives in 1918. Penguins are to this day threatened also by competition for food with humans, particularly overfishing in the South Pacific, greatly affecting nearby penguin colonies, contributing to steep declines in penguin populations worldwide, with many penguins also getting caught in fishermen's nets and drowning as a result. Additional documented climate changes have also been shown to lead to a loss of the habitat for our Antarctic penguins, particularly reducing emperor penguin populations. Would require large expanses of thick sea ice for their enormous rookeries. While the main source of food for many penguin species, the krill, has also significantly been reduced due to the melting ice caps, reducing algae, the krill's own source of food. The population of chinstrap penguins has declined by more than 50% as a direct result of global warming. Oil leaks additionally poisoning thousands of penguins. Crude oil getting caught in their feathers, reducing their insulating abilities and leading to hypothermia. And though today most penguins have been declared protected or endangered, illegal harvesting of penguin eggs continues as well. Often sold as a delicacy with their unusually large yolks considered particularly desirable. Penguin meat also still finding use as bait for fishermen in the South Seas. Despite many legal sanctions against any form of killing of penguins, despite their popularity, it seems the future does not bode well for the penguins, finding themselves in a shrinking world of melting snow and ice, now facing the same threat of extinction so many of their forebears failed to evade. But until that day, they remain on the shores of our beaches, on the cold and unforgiving Antarctic ice shelves, and in the oceans. One of the last remaining wild predators on Earth. Earth, the planet we call our home. From deserts to snowy mountains, as surely as the seasons change, through the passage of time, every inch of our world is, as it has always been, teeming with life, with creatures large and small. Join us in celebrating the mighty wilderness in Wild About. On land, at sea, on every continent, in every ocean but the Arctic. From the plains of Africa to the jungles of South America. From the farthest reaches of the known world to our backyards, long before civilization, before the history of our ancestors even began. Weathered by time, hardened by evolution, unfazed by successors and rivals, the oldest living reptile remains. The word turtle is commonly used for all members of the order of Testudinus. there exist three distinct terms for different kinds of turtles. The term turtle itself mainly applying to semi-aquatic families of the order, with tortoises being the primarily terrestrial species of turtles, while terrapins are members of a diverse group of smaller turtles living in brackish water, though members of all three groups are highly interrelated. Spread out over 14 families, with over 300 species, herbivores and carnivores alike, turtles can be found worldwide, south of the Arctic, north of Antarctica. They range greatly in size, from the largest, the leatherback sea turtle at 6.6 feet long, weighing up to 2,000 pounds, to the smallest, the speckled padloper tortoise, at a mere 3 inches, weighing less than 5 ounces. Turtles evolved over 220 million years ago during the late Triassic period, stemming from a common ancestor of crocodilians and the dinosaurs, evolving ribs that curved over its own back for protection, eventually forming a soft protective shell both over and under their bodies. Its skull then simplified, losing its teeth in favor of strong, powerful, bony beak-like jaws that are a direct extension of the skull itself. By the early Jurassic period, turtles were largely the same as they are today, only differing in size, such as with the archelon, which grew to be over 13 feet long, hunting squid in the vast oceans of the late Cretaceous. All turtles since then share the same basic body shape and key characteristics, the most prominent of which being their large protective shell, which in all species consists of extensions of the turtle's skeleton, with their shoulder and hip girdles existing inside their rib cage as opposed to outside. The ribs have themselves been flattened and fused to form a solid surface, the only exceptions being the shells of soft-shell turtles and the leatherback sea turtle, which are only partially bony, instead being made mostly of soft, oily leather-like skin. The shells are an extension of the turtle's ribs and spine, which fuse together during embryonic development to form the final enclosure, enveloping the entire body of the turtle, except for the limbs and the head. Additionally covered in hard scales known as scutes, the shell is used for protection against predators and to protect the body from harsh environmental conditions. The turtle shell is made up of two distinct parts, joined together at the sides by what is known as the bridge, where the two halves are fused. The top convex dome structure is known as the carapace, which can have any variety of shapes and sizes, often high-domed and irregular in shape among tortoises to make them difficult to grip and bite, while water-dwelling turtles and terrapins often have slimmer, more streamlined shells to glide better underwater. The bottom, the flatter part, is known as the plastron, which among some turtles and tortoises also includes a hinge to close the head and neck opening, as turtles, tortoises, and terrapins can all withdraw their limbs and even their head inside the shell for protection. All turtles are classified into two main suborders. The more primitive Pleurodira, who contract their necks to the side, including African side-necked turtles, Madagascan big-headed turtles, and a wide array of South American and Australian turtles. And the more common Cryptodira, who draw their necks in by contracting it under their spine, leading to a radically different structure of their vertebrae, including all snapping turtles, sea turtles, pond turtles, box turtles, river turtles, leaf turtles, roof turtles, pig-nosed turtles, mud turtles, and soft-shell turtles. Like other reptiles, turtles are exotherms and are dependent on the surrounding water or air temperature to regulate their own body temperature. As a result, turtles are often found basking in the sun during the day, to elevate their body temperature to be able to dive in lukewarm waters or remain active until dusk. In colder climates, turtles also go into a state of hibernation over the winter months, known as brumation, during which they can go entirely without food, slowing down their body functions, with some species of sea turtle even able to slow their heart rate down to 1 beat every 9 minutes. Like all reptiles, however, they frequently wake up to drink water. Most species of turtles are freshwater turtles, found in rivers, lakes, and swamps worldwide. Many have evolved webbed feet ideal for paddling in the water, alternating left and right, frequently coupled with long claws that aid the turtle in climbing out of the water and onto riverbanks and floating logs, to bask in the sunlight. A few species, such as the pig-nosed turtle, have fused digits, forming true flippers instead, as they rarely stay long out of the water. while several other species traditionally seen as semi-aquatic additionally have periods where they are mainly terrestrial, such as Asian leaf turtles, which spend only their juvenile years in rivers and lakes. Freshwater turtles and terrapins can be found to feed on anything from aquatic plants to insects, snails, and fish. Though as protein is essential for young turtles, juveniles of any species are typically purely carnivorous. 57 species of turtle are strictly terrestrial, using their clawed feet to traverse a wide variety of terrain. They can be found in forests, deserts, grasslands, even urban environments. Their heavy shells and short stocky legs greatly inhibiting their speed, however. With the fastest recorded tortoise walk, a leopard tortoise, being a mere 0.6 miles per hour. Generally herbivorous, these turtles feed mainly on grass, leaves, weeds, and flowers. There are only 7 species remaining of sea turtle, including the green sea turtle, the loggerhead sea turtle, Kemp's Ridley sea turtle, olive Ridley sea turtle, hawksbill sea turtle, flatback sea turtle, and the leatherback sea turtle, found across oceans worldwide, as they often migrate huge distances between nesting sites, known as rookeries, and feeding grounds, where they feed on fish and marine invertebrates such as jellyfish and sponges. While some species with more powerful jaws, such as Kemp's Ridley sea turtle and the olive Ridley sea turtle, specialize in shellfish, but the green sea turtle feeds mainly on algae and kelp. All sea turtles have developed well-articulated fins for locomotion underwater, using their forelimbs to propel themselves, while their hind limbs assist in steering. Sea turtles also have a uniquely adapted respiratory system, with more red blood cells and hemoglobin than other turtles, as well as large amounts of myoglobin throughout their muscles, and massive lungs, all making them capable of storing enough oxygen to stay submerged for up to an hour straight on a single breath for leatherback sea turtles. Sea turtles can also employ a unique system of anaerobic respiration, allowing the turtle to, in effect, breathe even without oxygen when required, instead breaking down glucose directly on a cellular level to convert food into energy, with some turtles able to withstand an additional 30 hours in an environment devoid of any oxygen. Some species of turtles, both sea turtles, terrapins, and freshwater turtles, have also developed means of extracting oxygen from water. Similar to gills, though most often using a pair of sacs known as bursae, or finger-like extensions known as papillae, near their cloaca, the combined digestive and urogenital opening of the turtle. Sea turtles also have glands near the eyes, tongue, or nostrils to expel excess salt taken in while swimming or breathing, appearing as tears similar to crocodiles. Most turtles have additionally excellent low-light vision, with an unusually large number of rod cells in their retinas of their eyes. Their color vision ranging the spectrum from nearly ultraviolet to full red, enabling them to see clearly both in dark muddy waters and in twilight conditions on land, as most tortoises are primarily diurnal or crepuscular, active mainly during the day and dusk, though they are often nearsighted. All turtles also have a highly developed sense of smell. Their sense of smell stems from nerve-filled bumps under their chins, known as barbels, enabling them to pick up scents not only in the air but in the water as well, with males additionally using their sense of smell to detect the presence of nearby fertile females emitting powerful pheromones, while their hearing is limited as they exhibit no outer ear or eardrum, instead merely sensing airborne vibrations and changes in water pressure, alerting them to the presence of nearby predators. The skin of a turtle is commonly either leathery, worn down by water, or dry and rough, as with tortoises. It is comprised of non-overlapping scales that, unlike the scales of a snake, do not shed at once as the turtle grows, instead sloughing off small sheets or individual scales as newer ones emerge underneath, often aided by long hours of basking in the harsh tropical sun, or sometimes, as with the South American river turtles, aided by other turtles biting and pulling the old scales off. The turtle's skin is also highly sensitive to physical contact and heat, even able to feel the slightest touch on their shells. The mouth and beak-like jaw of a turtle is highly specialized to its diet, and often has a powerful bite relative to its size. Some turtles having flatter biting surfaces to crack the shells of crustaceans, while others, such as the snapping turtle, have famously sharp beaks, easily able to bite through any prey, as they are primarily carnivorous. They also use their bite in self-defense, or to protect their territory, often appearing highly aggressive and easily capable of injuring humans. Sexual dimorphism between turtles vary between species, though most commonly the female is distinguished by being somewhat larger, a flatter plastron, occasionally different color eyes than the male, and having a shorter tail with a narrower base, as while the tail of a turtle serves no purpose for females. In males it houses the reproductive organs, and experiences significant growth as the male reaches maturity, extending past its back flippers or legs. Most turtles can take between 2 years, as with most tortoises, to 50, as with green sea turtles, to reach maturity, with maturity linked to body size rather than age for some species, due to their significant lifespans, most turtles living between 20 to 50 years, with some going far beyond, having the longest lifespans of any vertebrate, as their internal organs do not gradually break down as with other animals, their cells continuously renewing their entire lives without any sign of degradation. An Aldabra giant tortoise in India, having been reported to have reached the age of 255 prior to its death from complications following an infection. Typically highly solitary, only a few turtles gather in any significant numbers, and only during migration or mating season, forming groups of males and females known as bales. Mating season occurs once a year for most freshwater turtles, terrapins, and tortoises, often around spring or early summer, with some tropical and Mediterranean species mating throughout the year, with sea turtles sometimes only mating once every 2 to 4 years. Mating is often preceded by simple courtship rituals. Ready-to slider male swims around the female, fluttering the backside of his long claws around her head, directing his own pheromones to the female. If she sinks to the bottom, she is accepting his invitation. While most tortoises, the female is bullied into submission by highly aggressive males, ramming, biting, and butting the female, before she partially withdraws into her shell, allowing the male to mount her. While sea turtles mate in the water, several males competing for the attention of a single female, displaying the length of their neck as a sign of physical superiority and desirability. Though all turtles are generally polyandrous, the female seeking out and mating with several males to ensure genetic diversity, storing the sperm from many males in her oviducts prior to building a nest, even years if new suitable mates aren't found in succeeding seasons. Mating is often very brief, initiated by the male, mounting the female and wrapping his tail underneath hers, after which the female turtle returns to their chosen rookery, returning to the same site every season. Kemp's Ridley sea turtle and the olive Ridley sea turtle forming large migratory groups of females, known as aribadas, all coming ashore to lay eggs. As sea turtles, terrapins, and freshwater turtles lay their eggs on or near a beach, while tortoises commonly lay their eggs on hillsides, often facing south to be exposed to as much sun as possible, the specific spot chosen by careful sampling of the soil, the female feeling the ground with her snout to ensure the soil is not too dense or humid to sustain the eggs. Once there, she begins to dig an egg chamber, a long and arduous process for most turtles, sometimes taking hours to complete, followed by the laying of the eggs. Turtles typically lay a clutch of anywhere between a single egg to hundreds at a time, depending on the species. The most laid by hawksbill turtles, which can lay over 200 eggs at a time. Many species laying between 1 to 9 clutches per season, a few weeks apart. The eggs are typically proportionally small, soft, and leathery, and round in shape, while tortoise eggs are often harder, adapted for a drier climate and nest site, more like chicken eggs. The eggs are then buried in sand or mud and left to incubate, after which the mother returns to her daily routine, and the eggs and coming hatchlings are left to their own devices. It takes the young turtles between 60 and 120 days to hatch, depending on the species. The temperature of the eggs determines gender. Higher temperatures of incubation trigger male hormone production in the embryos, with the average temperature for most nests being a constant around 30 degrees Celsius. with varying temperatures sometimes leading to malformations and collapse of the eggs. While inside the egg, the turtle is bent over, folded in half over their still soft plastron, eventually straightening until their heads are pressed up against the shell. A bony protrusion at the end of their snout, known as an egg tooth, breaking through once they've consumed the egg yolk. The egg tooth eventually either falls off or wears down as the turtle grows older. The hatchlings then emerge as miniature versions of their parents. Tortoise hatchlings often scatter after hatching, looking for food and a source of drinking water, while sea turtle hatchlings and many terrapins and freshwater turtles instead head straight for the nearest body of water, where many species depend on thick beds of seaweed for food and to protect them from predators, spending most of the first 5 years of their lives close to shore. Though some, such as the red-eared slider hatchlings, cannot enter the water until 3 weeks after hatching, as their plastron has yet to harden fully, often seen with a visible crack where the turtle was bent inside the egg. The mortality rate for young turtles is extremely high, with less than 1% of all hatchlings surviving their first year. As their shells have yet to harden fully, they are even slower than their adult counterparts, and they are small enough to be picked on even by small predators, such as lizards, snakes, birds, dogs, and jackals. The word turtle stems from an alternate English spelling of the French word tortoise, itself stemming from the ancient Greek word for something from Tartarus, the mythical underworld, as tortoises and turtles were once believed to have hailed from the land of the dead. Turtles have long been important mythological figures in cultures around the world, often as a figure of wisdom and longevity, as well as more ambiguous figures of deceit and treachery, owing to their dual nature of living on both land and sea. African myths often portrayed them as cunning tricksters and clever heroes, while in ancient Egypt, depictions of the Nile turtle were used as magical talismans to ward off evil and to protect one's life and health. In later dynasties, also known as a symbol for evil, ritually sacrificed and speared as enemies of the sun god Ra, while their bodies were dissected with parts used for medicinal and cosmetic purposes. Later worshipped as one of 4 entities to hold spirit in Chinese mythology, together with the dragon, rhino, and phoenix, in particular used as a military symbol, mirroring the fierce mythical dragon. The tortoise is also an integral part of their creation myth, the flat plastron and domed carapace mirroring the ancient belief of a flat earth and domed sky. In Hindu mythology, the turtle is also integral to the formation of the cosmos, as the world is thought to rest on the backs of 4 elephants standing on a giant world turtle. Similarly, among Native American traditions, the world is formed by mud kneaded by the Great Spirit creator Maheo, which is then so heavy only the grandmother turtle can support it on her back. While more modern depictions have centered on the turtle's slowness, perseverance, and perceived ingenuity, often part of children's fairy tales and fables depicted in books and cartoons. Today, the popular image of turtles have led them to becoming a flagship animal for conservation efforts, often used as a symbol for animal rights and environmental causes. Turtles themselves are currently also used to promote significant ecotourism in many countries, particularly sea turtles, with a common source of ecotourism being observing and aiding hatchlings get from their nest to the ocean. Turtles are also common today as pets, particularly in Western countries, kept either outdoors or confined in aquariums and terrariums, due to the perception of turtles being easy to maintain and their long lifespans. Though often many turtles are unintentionally mistreated as the tradition is new and there exists comparatively little documentation on how to care for turtles, with the shells further complicating dealing with their health concerns. This has led to many turtles either dying due to complications or being kept in unsuitable environments, not getting enough sunlight, or due to mating, as many owners unwittingly try to crossbreed species with disastrous results, and as turtles are notoriously picky with their nesting sites. Many impregnated turtles in captivity refuse to nest and instead suffer complications for not expelling the eggs. As with most reptiles, turtles also carry salmonella bacteria in their bowels, making it easy for owners to contract salmonellosis. leading to many countries adopting strict regulations on what turtles are legally to be sold to prospective pet owners. Turtles are also a common delicacy in a number of cultures, turtle soup being highly popular in many cultures, particularly in Asia, leading to ever-increasing amounts of turtles both hunted and farmed for their meat. The plastron from turtles is also considered valuable in Chinese traditional medicine, in the creation of the medicinal dessert guilingao, sold in the millions across Southeast Asia. Fat from turtles is also used extensively in Latin America in the production of cosmetics, often marketed as crema de tortuga, or cream of turtle, with additional threats to turtles being climate change and deforestation. The acidification and pollution of oceans, lakes, and rivers in particular threatening many turtles, as well as overfishing threatening the diet of sea turtles. While tortoises and freshwater turtles endemic to rainforests are threatened by significant loss of habitat, tortoises being particularly vulnerable, with over 70% of all tortoise species almost gone. 27 species of turtles today are on the very brink of becoming extinct, with over 240 additional species being threatened or critically endangered. Turtles may be beloved worldwide. It appears that despite their long legacy and supposed longevity, their time is quickly running out. Only the most intensive conservation efforts may save them, but even then it may be too late. Once this was their world, we may only hope it will return to them once again, as the mighty turtle perseveres, on land, at sea, on every continent, in every ocean, as one of the last remaining wild animals on Earth.
Earth, the planet we call our home. From deserts to snowy mountains, as surely as the seasons change, through the passage of time, every inch of our world is, as it has always been, teeming with life, with creatures large and small. Join us in celebrating the mighty wilderness in Wild About.
No matter where you are, odds are, if you find yourself far from the busy city life, deep in the wilderness, look up and you might just see, high above mountains and treetops, ocean waves and desert landscapes, soaring majestically over us, across the clear blue skies and starry nights, the kings of the ether, hunters of the heavens, birds of prey. Though many fine birds are predators. In ornithology, raptors, or birds of prey, are defined as an interrelated group of predatory birds, all with exceptional eyesight, strong grip, with most having large curved talons for holding their prey, and a prominent, strong curved beak, designed to tear at the flesh of their prey. Raptors are divided into two main groups, signifying their primary defining habit: nocturnal or night flying, and diurnal or day flying, also known as the falconiformes. And within those two, raptors are further divided into 7 distinct families: hawks, eagles, harriers, buzzards, vultures, and kites make up the first diurnal family, except today, with over 220 species. Though diverse, they are all genetically linked. They range greatly in size, from the nearly 4 feet tall Cinereus vulture than a tiny pearl kite at 9 inches in length. With one thing in common being the notable size difference between the larger females and the smaller males, with female hawks being up to 50% larger than their male counterparts. Next among the families of raptors is Falconidae. Includes all falcons and caracaras, over 60 species in all, differing from others in that they kill with their beaks rather than their feet, employing a unique extrusion on the side of their upper mandible, known as a tomial tooth, that fits in a notch in the lower mandible, specifically intended to bite through the spinal cord of their prey. Another family is Pandionidae, which includes the osprey, also known as the sea hawk, which together with the secretary bird is unique in that it constitutes its own family of species, spread out nearly worldwide. The osprey can be found only near a body of water, where its preferred prey of fish can be found. There are significant anatomical differences, particularly in their highly articulated feet and rounded talons, have provided difficulties in ascertaining their evolutionary origins in relation to other raptors. The secretary bird has likewise been difficult to classify, aside from their own family of Sagittariidae, as one of the oldest raptors in existence, along with condors, as well as being one of the most distinct in appearance. It takes its name from the long distinctive quill-like feathers along its crest, giving it the appearance of a secretary with quill pens tucked behind her ear. The Cathartidae family of raptors is among the oldest, including vultures and condors found naturally in the New World. Once a fixture of the Old World, they have since been relegated to the temperate areas of the Americas, with a weaker, slight beak than other birds of prey. They are known for their large wingspans and stiff tails, enabling long-distance gliding and soaring. The Andean condor having the second largest wingspan of all birds. The two remaining families of raptors are also the only two primarily nocturnal ones. Strigidae being the typical, or otherwise known as true, owls, made up of 189 living species, found on every continent but Antarctica. And Titanidae, consisting of barn and bay owls, typically larger and with more distinctive, large heart-shaped faces than the common owls. They are less prevalent, with no species found in large portions of Asia, North America, and the Sahara. As with all birds, raptors descended from the dinosaurs, sharing their name with the dinosaurs closest in relation to birds. The word raptor itself is derived from the Latin word for seize or take by force. Raptors first emerged as their own separate group in the early Eocene period, around 50 million years ago, as the world was still recovering from mass extinction. And mammals, large and small, were taking over the land. The early raptors had a highly similar form to what we see in hawks and owls today, only later diversifying into the group we know today. All are carnivorous, with only a few species supplementing their food with fruits. Most have acquired specialties and have become uniquely adapted to hunting their preferred prey, such as the shikra, occurring throughout Africa and Central Asia, feeding on lizards and frogs. or sparrowhawks, feeding mainly on smaller birds. Who reside across southeastern Europe and Asia Minor and sub-Saharan Africa. Most raptors also prey on carrion, or the carcass of large animals, scavenging whatever meat they can get from the dead, with the vultures of both the Old and the New World particularly known for this. The word vulture itself being synonymous with opportunistic scavenging, with a group of vultures feeding known as a wake. To further develop their scavenging abilities, vultures and condors have both developed either partially or fully bald heads to easily reach into the bodies of large carcasses and pick out as much meat as possible while remaining hygienic, as well as regulate body temperature in hot climates. And usually for raptors, New World vultures also have developed a keen sense of smell, able to smell fallen prey up to a mile away. Though both Old and New World vultures share strikingly similar characteristics, they aren't believed to be closely related, with their similarities being the result of inhabiting similar environments and roles in the food chain, thus evolving in similar ways to better suit their selected niche, a concept known as convergent evolution. Similarly, falcons, falconets, kestrels, and caracaras have evolved to strongly resemble the other raptors, such as hawks and buzzards, while remaining only distantly related, having been one of the first families to diverge from the group. Despite their image of being fast-flying predators, with the peregrine falcon able to dive at speeds of more than 200 miles an hour, making it the fastest creature on Earth. Many members of Falconidae are similarly sedentary, several species stashing food supplies in caches. Generally solitary, falcons hunt either alone or in pairs, only joining other falcons of the same kind during migration. Most raptors are either partially or wholly migratory birds. Like most hawks, who often migrate vast distances of thousands of miles. Hawks themselves often being divided into two subfamilies, the term applying to both true hawks, found worldwide, as well as buzzards of the Americas, also known as butyrnine hawks, with true hawks hunting from concealed perches, suddenly swooping down to grab their prey. Commonly other birds, fish, and insects, while butyrnine hawks have larger wings, adapted for their higher altitude soaring and descending on their prey, which tends to be small rodents or reptiles, as well as fish. Harriers are known for their low-flying behavior over open ground. Also feeding mainly on small mammals and reptiles. Closely related are the kites, including the black kite, which is among the most abundant species of the family, being found throughout the Old World in Australia, where they can be found to eat any kind of small creature or carrion, as well as household refuse, as well as the nests of other black kites, making it uniquely cannibalistic among raptors. Though not a natural group, but a term for any large raptor of a certain size, eagles can be divided into 4 groups. Sea eagles, primarily feeding on fish closely related to kites. including the bald eagle, known also as a national symbol for the United States. Snake eagles hunting snakes and other reptiles, with the Madagascar serpent eagle standing out as being unrelated to the rest. Harpy eagles, being eagles with relatively short wingspans but large bodies, inhabiting tropical forests, many of which are not directly related, which includes the Philippine eagle, a national symbol for the Philippines and severely endangered. And true eagles, distinguished by their feathered lower legs or tarsi. That includes the smallest eagle, the booted eagle, which can still take down prey 5 times their own size. All are known to have eyesight far surpassing that of humans, with some eagles having over 3 times the level of vision. Due to their nocturnal nature, owls are typically found resting on a perch during the day in what is called roosting, a state of half-aware sleep where the owl's body temperature is significantly lowered. Though often perceived as tame, they rarely take flight when humans approach. They're actually relying on their stillness to avoid detection by predators. For the same reasons, owls are widely known for their thick, soft plumage, allowing them the ability of silent flight. With exceptionally sensitive large eyes giving them powerful binocular vision, though often colorblind, as well as a superior sense of hearing, enhanced by particular configurations of the feathers along the facial disc. Barn owls are highly similar in anatomy, though distinctly different in appearance from the true owls. They are divided into 2 groups. The first being Tyto owls, which are larger, lack ear-like tufts, and have a heart-shaped face. Distributed throughout Europe, parts of Asia, southern Africa, and the Americas. Some recently extinct flightless species of the Caribbean being some of the biggest birds known to man. The second group being bay owls, which are smaller, have visible ear-like tufts, and a more divided U-shaped face, and are considerably more rare, with only 3 species in existence. Found throughout Southeast Asia, India, and parts of the Congo. As with most birds, raptors form monogamous pairs, at least for the duration of the mating season, if not for life, with mating preceded by a period of courtship, including loud mating calls, and males pursuing the females in a grand aerial display, with male harriers flying around in circles and loops to court the female. The mating act itself is rarely observed and quick, often occurring only after the nest has been built out of sticks, twigs, and dry leaves, with both the male and female frequently cooperating in the construction of simple, low, hollow nests, with the exception of falcons, who co-opt the nests of other birds. Soon the female lays between 1 to 6 eggs depending on the breed, all with hard, relatively thick shells made out of calcium carbonate, the same substance found in the shell of a snail. Both parents also aid in incubating the eggs, as well as taking care of the young, making multiple trips to bring home light prey, such as insects and small rodents, to the often lightly feathered chicks, sometimes hundreds of times a day. A few of the more social raptors are, however, instead colonial and employ allo-parenting strategies, where other birds of the same flock or kettle assist in taking care of the eggs and eventual chicks, often being an older brood of the same parents. Commonly, the nests are very large, and with certain exceptions, such as the secretary bird, set on tree branches, vigilantly guarded, with the parents or members of the same group never being far behind. Raptors have long been a symbolic staple in most cultures around the world, often deified and hailed as emblems for royalty or power. or in the case of the vulture, a symbol of death and decay. Eagles in particular have historically been worshipped around the world. Due to their immense size and long range, appearing as gods or omens to Native Americans, as well as part of Greek mythology and biblical symbolism. As well as a notable insignia used by the Nazi Party of Germany. Similarly, ospreys have been considered kings of both sea and air. With popular depictions mirroring the bald or white eagle as equally regal. While hawks have become synonymous with fierceness and aggression. With both falcons and hawks often being trained for hunting and sport. With their handlers known as either falconers, for those flying a falcon, or ostringers, for those flying a hawk. Or in rare cases, an eagle. A practice first started in 700 BC in Mesopotamia. And shortly thereafter in China. Most common breeds used today being the red-tailed hawk and Harris hawk, able to take down small prey such as other birds, hares, and rabbits. With a few ostringers, such as in Kazakhstan and Mongolia, using eagles to take down larger prey, including foxes and wolves. Though many smaller raptors, such as falcons, kites, and hawks, remain abundant due to their willingness to adapt to human settlements. Able to feed on common urban and rural rodents. Many more of the larger breeds of raptors are now endangered or vulnerable. Unlike other birds, not so much due to hunting as it is due to prey depletion and loss of their natural habitats. With particularly eagles, vultures, and larger owls being vulnerable, as they require large, specialized habitats. Though they may be soaring high now. The future doesn't bode well for the great raptors. Only the most intensive preservation efforts may be successful in saving these kings of the sky. For now, birds of prey continue to rule the heavens as one of the last remaining predators on Earth.
Earth, the planet we call our home. From deserts to snowy mountains, as surely as the seasons change, through the passage of time, every inch of our world is, as it has always been, teeming with life, with creatures large and small. Join us in celebrating the mighty wilderness in Wild About.
Deep in primordial forests, in the dark jungles, or in the freezing Arctic cold, in the heart of darkness, where the elements take over, where nature dwarfs man, if you hear a rumble, the crackling of ice, or the breaking of twigs, followed by an echoing roar, like a chill down your spine, you'll know it's there. A lumbering giant, a fearsome hunter, a mythic beast. Giants of the wild. Bears are the largest predators on land. The largest Kodiak bear recorded having nearly 3 times the mass of the largest tiger, at over 2,400 pounds, measuring over 10 feet in height when standing upright, while the smallest, the sun bear, is just shy of 5 feet tall, weighing as little as 44 pounds. Though most are in fact omnivorous, with the brown bear notably being the most omnivorous creature on land next to humans, found to be able to eat a wider variety of foods than any other wild animal, making them equally highly opportunistic, eating anything from leaves and berries, fish, deer, and livestock, to human waste and carrion. While the polar bear is the only exclusively predatory bear, with the panda being mostly herbivorous. Bears can be found throughout Europe, Asia, and the Americas, often in forests, but also in mountainous regions, grasslands, and tundra, as well as in the Arctic. They are caniforms, members of the family Ursidae. Though despite sharing habitats with many other caniforms, such as wolves, foxes, and wild dogs, bears are more closely related to seals than any other dog-like animal. They evolved from primitive raccoon-like ancestors over 30 million years ago, diversifying into a wide range of prehistoric bears, flourishing around the same time as the first humanoids started to emerge 5 million years ago, many of which reaching giant sizes to correspond with the existing megafauna of mammoths and saber-toothed tigers. Prehistoric giant short-faced bear, notably reaching heights over 15 feet, surviving as late as 11,000 years ago. Bears today are divided into 8 species. The sloth bear, found only in India, Pakistan, Nepal, Bangladesh, and Sri Lanka. Unusual for bears, they are mainly nocturnal, and are distinguished by their long, shaggy coat, forming a distinctive mane, and their highly specialized lower lip and palate, lacking several front teeth, used to suck out insects such as termites out of burrows and nests. The spectacled bear, also known as the Andean bear, is the only bear found natively in South America. It is considered the largest terrestrial carnivore in South America, though notably only 5% of its diet consists of meat, the rest being fruits, leaves, and nuts. It is distinguished by large beige or ginger-colored markings across its face and chest, often around the eyes, giving it its name. The giant panda, notably unrelated to the red panda of the weasel family. The giant panda feeds almost exclusively on bamboo stalks. They can today only be found in a few mountain ranges in central China. Easily recognized by its highly distinctive black and white coloration pattern. The sun bear, also known as the honey bear, found in rainforests throughout Southeast Asia, distinguished by their comparatively small size, thin collar patch of white or yellow fur, light-colored face, and its exceptionally long tongue used for extracting honey and termites. The remaining 4 species of bears are closely related, all found in the family of Ursus. These include the mighty polar bear, found only north of the Arctic Circle, Known for their immense size and white color, they spend most of their time in the water, hunting their preferred prey of seals. Also included is the Asian black bear, also known as moon bear, distinguished by a large white patch on its chest. Powerful front legs, specifically adapted for climbing trees, and highly aggressive behavior, despite being largely a herbivore. It is found in Central and Southeast Asia. The American black bear, found in great numbers throughout North America, known for being highly intelligent and peaceful, generally avoiding any human contact. Lastly, the brown bear, the most widely distributed of all bears worldwide, spread out over North America, Russia, China, Europe, and Asia Minor. It is the most famous and iconic of all bears, known under a variety of names for each of its many subspecies, distinguished by their large size, a distinctive shoulder hump and sloping concave back, and their fur ranging from a reddish brown to a brown gray, as well as their unusually long claws, adapted for digging and mauling as opposed to climbing. Bears today come in a wide range of shapes and sizes. All are highly robust with large rounded frames, with a massive solid torso, powerful muscular shoulders and neck, a short vestigial tail, and comparatively short stocky legs, walking on their hands and feet as opposed to their fingers and toes, unlike most other caniform, distributing their weight toward their hind limbs, leading to their lumbering gait. Though bears are commonly quadrupeds, they are also highly capable of bipedal standing and sitting to reach higher objects, to get a better vantage point, or to appear larger when threatened, either by another animal, another bear, or humans. Despite their build, bears are also highly efficient runners and swimmers. Brown bears easily able to reach speeds of up to 30 miles an hour on land, though they are still slower than most canines and felines. The species name of the polar bear itself, Maritimus, stemming from its semi-aquatic nature, as they are great swimmers. Several species of bear are also at least partially arboreal, climbing after prey or feeding off of the tree itself, even taking shelter on the treetops and branches overnight. Only the largest species, the polar bear and the brown bear, not able to climb trees. All bears are covered in a warm layered coat, consisting of two primary layers. The dense undercoat, made up of many short hairs close to the skin, and longer outer guard hairs to trap air and keep dirt and water out of the inner layer. The fur is either brown or black, with only the panda and polar bear being significantly white. The polar bear having unique guard hairs made out of hollow, translucent bristles, trapping the air inside for insulation against the freezing waters of the Arctic, while their dense white underfur is what gives them their color, yellowing with age. The primary sensory input of bears comes from their superior sense of smell. Though the olfactory lobe of a bear's brain is comparatively average, their elongated snout contains a highly developed nasal cavity, with the total area of their nasal mucous membrane inside being over 100 times the size of a human's, giving bears up to 7 times the sense of smell of a bloodhound, enabling the bear to sense prey or danger from up to 50 miles downwind, even able to detect another animal's passing up to 15 hours after the fact. Augmented by what is known as a vomeronasal organ, a cavity inside the palate of the bear filled with highly sensitive sensory neurons, detecting airborne chemicals and pheromones. The eyesight of bears is typically acute and believed to have near full-color vision, on par with that of humans for most species, to aid in foraging for colored berries and fruits. The polar bear having evolved additional low-light eyesight to be able to see its prey underwater. Though bears are commonly nearsighted, shown to have difficulty distinguishing shapes at a distance, while their hearing is highly developed. All bears typically have very large, curved, non-retractable claws on each of their paws, which, coupled with their immense strength, enables the bears to easily grab and tear at any prey, no matter the size, and large, powerful jaws, easily capable of crushing flesh and bone, as well as chewing tough vegetable matter, bark, and roots, with large pointed canines, which it uses to crack open trees to access honey and insects inside. and flat molars, reflecting their omnivorous nature, contrary to common perception. Bears are generally active mainly during the day, roaming large territories or migrating between nearby areas, often centered around a fixed den, usually a cave or burrow, providing shelter from harsh weather, rivals, and opportunistic predators. Though they are seldom strongly territorial, bears can be found protective of their home ranges when threatened or when raising cubs. Highly solitary, bears are only rarely found in pairs or smaller groups around mating season, or when raising their young, as well as in rare cases of seasonal bounties, such as during salmon runs, only rarely coming into conflict with other bears. Though bears rarely ever back down from a confrontation, preferring to stay their ground, whether with a rival or another predator. In colder climates, bears often go into a state commonly called hibernation over the winter months, during which the bear lowers his bodily functions and sometimes also body temperature, not to expend any unnecessary energy, with its heart rate dropping in some species significantly, requiring no food or water, nor do they need to urinate or defecate, building up fat reserves during the summer and autumn months in order to survive. Though this is not considered true hibernation compared to other hibernating animals, as bears can easily be awoken, giving rise to the familiar expression to wake a sleeping bear, an ability thought to have evolved out of the necessity of the female bear to care for and protect her young, as hibernating bears commonly give birth during this time. Bears rely mainly on body language, an array of specific vocalizations for communication, as well as territorial markings. In particular, known for scratching or tearing at trees to leave marks to be found by other bears. Vocalizations include moanings for mild warnings, barking to raise alarm or stemming from excitement, huffing during courtship or between mother and cubs, growling as a stronger warning, roaring for outright intimidation, and humming, employed by cubs as a means of signaling the mother of their position. All bears exhibit significant sexual dimorphism, with males of all species often considerably larger than females. The age in which the bear becomes sexually mature varies greatly between species and subspecies alike, from sun bear females maturing as young as 2 years of age, to brown bears, where males may not mature even until 9 years, only then becoming large enough to rival older males. Mating season typically occurs once a year, for a short period of time as the female goes into estrus, for between a few days for pandas to several months for American black bears, emitting powerful pheromones detected by nearby males. Bears are generally polygamous as well as polyandrous, many males mating with many females, only the brown bear being serially monogamous, staying with a single mate for an extended period of time, to ensure the success of conception. The courtship of most bears is often brief and simple, consisting of initial cautious greetings, the male first approaching the female, signaling his intent by loud huffing, at which point the female reciprocates, inviting the male for mating. The mating act itself is brief, lasting between 30 seconds to 5 minutes, but repeated often until conception occurs. With most bears, this occurs in spring or summertime, when food is still abundant, the fertilized egg not taking hold for the first few months, allowing the bear time to gain weight in anticipation of the pregnancy, thanks to a process of delayed implantation, wherein the fertilized egg floats freely inside the female's uterus, only attaching to the uterine wall and developing further in winter. In hibernating species, if the female hasn't gained enough weight prior to dormancy, the egg never attaches and is instead reabsorbed into the female's body, foregoing the added risk of a pregnancy while she is malnourished. Bear pregnancies can last between 2 to 5 months for pandas, brown bears, polar bears, and sun bears. Up to 7 or even 8 months for sloth bears, Asian and American black bears, and spectacled bears, whose cubs typically develop faster. Most litters consist of 1 to 6 cubs, older females typically giving birth to large litters, and first-time mothers only having single births. Bear cubs are born blind, toothless, and with a minimal amount of fur. They weigh less than 2 pounds, even for the largest bears. The panda cubs being the proportionally smallest infants of any placental mammal, weighing only 3 to 4 ounces. Breastfeeding until strong enough to follow the female in search of food. A period that can range from 6 months to up to 2 years depending on the species. The cubs then remain in the care of their mother for an additional 2 years after weaning, during which the reproductive cycle of the female is suppressed, only resuming after the cubs leave her care. The mother teaches its cubs how to forage for food, what foods are high in nutritional value, how to hunt, and how to fish, as well as how to defend themselves and where to den. The cubs learn by following and imitating their mother, as well as by playing among themselves. The mother bear is typically highly protective of their young and can appear highly aggressive to any perceived threat, with threats including not only other large predators such as tigers and wolves, but also other bears. The brown bear notably practicing infanticide, either by males to force the female into another reproductive cycle to bear its own cubs, or for cannibalism. Bear lifespans typically range around 20 to 25 years, only in rare cases in the wild and in captivity exceeding 35 to 40 years, due to their immense size and role in the food chain. The mortality rate of adult bears is typically comparatively low at around 10%, most only succumbing to disease, accidents, or conflicts with other bears, with the tiger of Asia being the only predator known to regularly attack and prey upon adult bears. Bears have long been a significant symbol in human history, many cave paintings of prehistoric man portraying conflicts with bears, both worshipped as animal deities, as well as feared as an omen or sign of oncoming death, the very word bear originating from an early Germanic word for brown, initially a euphemism used out of superstition, ancient peasants fearing that uttering their local word for bear would summon it, simultaneously symbols of both danger and power. Their solitary and reclusive nature and reluctance to approach humans also initially shrouded them in mystery, spawning many misconceptions of their nature. Bears are now believed to have given rise to several myths of giant woodland or mountainous creatures, including Bigfoot and the abominable snowman, the Yeti, stalking the wilderness of North America and the Himalayas respectively. Bears have also since been a staple of folklore and fables across the globe, often featuring in fairy tales and epic poems as magical or peaceful creatures of the woods, extending to Christian legends of bear taming by saints in the Alps, as a recurring motif used by the Church to symbolize the victory of the Christian faith over paganism. Today, bears are often used as a national symbol for countries around the world, from the gentle Chinese panda to the imposing giant of the Russian bear. Bears have seeped into the public consciousness, frequently depicted as not only mighty predators, but also as often less intelligent, gentle giants in children's shows and cartoons, as well as being closely associated with stuffed toys since the early 20th century, through the teddy bear, named as such following an incident of then U.S. President Theodore Roosevelt hunting an American black bear, later mocked for refusing to kill it after capture, deeming it unsportsmanlike, prompting toy manufacturer Morris Mitchum to make a toy based on a bear cub, dubbing it Teddy's Bear. soon becoming immensely popular as a traded gift between children and adults alike, with sales of teddy bears today exceeding $1 billion per year. Though bears once existed across the globe, they are now relegated only to a handful of areas scattered over a few dozen countries. All but the American black bear and the brown bear are today listed as vulnerable or endangered, with many subspecies of brown bears risking extirpation, some, such as the Marsican brown bear, existing only in dozens, in part due to deforestation, with encroaching human settlements everywhere, as well as a worldwide spread of agriculture destroying their natural habitats, but mostly due to hunting. The added danger of bear hunting often seen as the main attraction of it, leading to many bears turning nocturnal specifically to avoid hunters, forced to rely more on vegetation and nocturnal animals than their usual prey, eventually giving rise to far-reaching disruptions in the ecosystem. Hunted bears are often repeatedly wounded to slowly bleed to death, as hunters often struggle to kill a bear instantly. Also using massive bear traps, maiming and mutilating the bear, though often not enough to kill it outright, instead incapacitating the bear until the hunter returns for the trap, or until starvation. The severed heads and coats of bears are then often turned into trophies, hung on walls for display. The Inuit of Canada and Greenland significantly relying on polar bear meat for sustenance. While in China, bears are often hunted in large numbers or even farmed for their gallbladders, containing ursodeoxycholic acid, or UDCA, believed to aid in treating rheumatism, poor eyesight, and gallstones, despite the widespread prevalence of newer and cheaper artificially produced options, though often seen as dangerous. Brown bears, polar bears, American black bears, and sloth bears, having injured and even killed many throughout history, most avoid all contact with humans, being shy and easily frightened. They are nevertheless often demonized when incidents do occur, with several notable cases of lynch mobs gathering to drive out and kill bears who have attacked humans. As a result, conservation groups often struggle to raise awareness and sympathy for the bears in areas where they are most threatened. It seems bears worldwide are now facing an uncertain future, with little room left for the once mighty animals. But until then, they remain in our forests and mountains, in our grasslands and tundras, in the cold harshness of the Arctic, and in tropical jungles. As among the last remaining giants of the wild.